Let me tell you something they'll never say out loud. Emotion is a weapon, and if you don't learn how to hold it by the blade, it will be used against you. It sounds brutal, but it's true. The more you care, the more you bleed. You think love, empathy, and vulnerability are the paths to connection? In reality, they're the fastest routes to being controlled. The people who rise, who dominate rooms, who hold influence like gravity, they've mastered something most never will. Emotional distance is power. That's the rule no one wants to admit, because it ruins the fairy tale. You see, emotion is the handle they use to twist you, the leash they tighten when you get too attached. Every time you need to be understood, liked, or accepted, you're handing over a piece of your control, piece by piece, until you're dancing to a tune that's not yours. We don't like to hear this. We want to believe that feeling deeply is a strength, that wearing your heart on your sleeve is noble. But in the real world, the one of power plays, manipulation, and psychological warfare, that heart becomes a target. Think about it. In any situation, whether it's a relationship, negotiation, or even just a conversation, who dictates the terms? The one who cares less. That's the game. And most people are losing. They overshare, they over-explain, they respond too quickly, they panic when ignored, they reach out first, they break first. They're addicted to emotional expression, while the one who's silent, unreadable, and still controls the entire dynamic. You want to be respected, feared, unforgettable? Then start by becoming hard to read. Be calm when others are chaotic. Be still when others scream. Because the person who can sit in silence without folding is the one everyone ends up orbiting. You might be thinking, but isn't that cold? Isn't that inhuman? Number, it's disciplined. Detachment is not apathy. It's not numbness. It's strategic emotional control. It means you see the game, but you don't play it on their terms. Picture this. Two people in a heated argument. One is yelling, demanding, grasping for attention. The other is quiet, composed, unmoved. Who do you think holds the power? The loud one might seem dominant, but the silent one is controlling the pace. Their stillness becomes a mirror, reflecting back the other person's desperation. And desperation is weakness. If you're always reacting, you're predictable. If you're predictable, you're controllable. And that's how you lose. So why do people fall into this trap? Because emotion feels good. Caring makes us feel human. But what feels good isn't always what makes you powerful. The world doesn't belong to those who feel the most. It belongs to those who can feel without attachment. People spend their entire lives chasing approval, trying to be liked, needing to be chosen. That's not connection, it's dependency. And dependency is dangerous. Want proof? Watch what happens when someone ignores you. Most people start unraveling. They check their phone, they second-guess their words, they start replaying every interaction in their mind like a broken film reel. Why? Because silence triggers their insecurity. But if you can learn to stand in that silence, if you can sit with discomfort without needing to end it, you flip the entire script. Suddenly, they're the ones chasing. They want to understand you. They want to crack your code. They want to bring you back into emotional balance, not because they care, but because your indifference disturbs them. Let that sink in. Your calm is their chaos, and that right there is leverage. Most people give their power away with their reactions. An insult, they argue. A compliment, they soften. A rejection, they spiral. Every emotion they display becomes a breadcrumb for someone else to follow and control. But you're different. You don't flinch when they expect you to explode. You don't respond when they expect you to chase. You don't explain yourself because power doesn't justify itself. You stay silent, focused, watchful. And in that silence, people start to project their own fears onto you. They assume you're angry. They assume you're playing games. They assume you're stronger than you are. And they treat you that way. That's the secret no one teaches. You don't have to be powerful. You just have to be perceived as powerful. And nothing builds that perception faster than emotional restraint. But here's the kicker. You can't fake it. People can smell performative indifference. They can sense when you're pretending not to care while burning inside. That's not power. That's just a mask. And masks fall off under pressure. To truly own the room, you have to own your mind. You have to actually not care. Not in a nihilistic way, not in a reckless way, but in a calculated, composed, sovereign way. Like a chess player watching pieces fall without blinking because he's already thinking 5 moves ahead. Ask yourself, what are you still emotionally tied to? Whose validation do you still seek? Where in your life are you bleeding energy just to be understood? And more importantly, what would your life look like if you didn't? Imagine it. You move through the world untouched by gossip, unbothered by opinion, immune to emotional bait. You don't chase because you understand your value doesn't depend on being chosen. You're the one who chooses. And when you do that, when you truly internalize that mindset, everything shifts. The people who once had power over you lose it. The situations that once drained you no longer faze you. And the people who thought they could control you start to fear losing you. You become rare, and rarity is power. Now let's talk about what this looks like in real life, because theory is useless without practice. Let's say you're in a relationship. You've been giving, explaining, apologizing, over-communicating, trying to make things work. But here's what they won't tell you. The more effort you put in without reciprocation, the lower your value becomes. Not because you aren't worthy, but because people equate availability with lack of value. It's brutal, but it's real. So try something else. Pull back. Not out of spite, out of strength. Watch how quickly the dynamic changes. They'll start to panic, try to fix what they never appreciated, because your absence will say more than your words ever could. This is the essence of power. Withdrawal as a message. In business, it's the same. The client who doesn't chase the deal, more respected. The negotiator who's willing to walk away, gets the better terms. Why? Because need is weakness, and weakness invites manipulation. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. If your emotions are obvious, they will be used to control you. They'll know exactly how to provoke you, exactly where to press, and exactly what to threaten. Now flip the scenario. Imagine you're calm, unreadable. You don't react to insults. You don't over-celebrate praise. You're not cold, but you are measured. Everything you show is intentional. Everything you withhold is strategic. Suddenly, they don't know what moves you. And when they don't know what moves you, they can't move you. That's when they start to respect you. People are drawn to mystery not because it's magical, but because it's hard to manipulate. When someone doesn't reveal their emotional triggers, you have to guess. You have to work. You have to earn access. And in a world where most people overshare just to feel connected, that makes you rare. It makes you powerful. Now, let's zoom in on something personal. Betrayal. At some point, someone will disappoint you, lie to you, hurt you. They'll expect a reaction. Rage, tears, begging, explanations. But the real response? Silence. Don't give them the emotional feedback they're craving. Let the weight of your stillness speak for you. Because nothing haunts a guilty person more than an unbothered exit. You walk away clean, cold, Not because you're heartless, but because your self-worth doesn't live in someone else's pocket. You don't owe closure. You don't owe understanding. You owe yourself peace. You see, there's a reason the strong are quiet. There's a reason the most respected people in any room don't speak unless they choose to. They've learned that restraint is the loudest form of power. Let others scramble to explain. Let others trip over their emotions. Let them perform their drama. You stay composed. You stay centered. You move like a ghost in a room full of noise. Because while they argue to be right, you build empires in silence. That's not ego. That's efficiency. Now here's something they'll never teach you in school, therapy, or most relationships. You don't have to be understood to be at peace. You don't have to be validated to be worthy. You don't have to react to prove you're alive. Reaction is slavery. You must stop bleeding emotions everywhere you go. Learn to contain, to redirect, to reserve. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means your feelings don't run the show. Most people walk around like open books, pages flapping in the wind. Every emotion, every thought, every need printed in bold for the world to use. But you need to become a locked manuscript. Only read when you choose. Only opened on your terms. You think people fear lions because they roar? Number. They fear them because they might. That unpredictability, that tension, is the source of real power. So be unpredictable. Let them feel unsure around you. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Don't always make them comfortable, because comfort breeds entitlement. And the moment they feel entitled to your presence, your time, your emotions, they stop respecting it. People respect what they fear losing, not what's always available. Your strength isn't in giving all of yourself. It's in knowing what to give, when, and to whom. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can give is your absence. Let your silence echo longer than your words. Let your boundaries be so firm that they feel like walls. Let your stillness unnerve those who are addicted to chaos. And when someone tries to pull you into emotional games, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy, or am I just being baited? The person who answers that question honestly wins. Every single time. Now, before we end, remember this. You are not cold for protecting your peace. You are not cruel for being calculated. You are not toxic for refusing to play emotional ping pong. You are strategic, because in a world where everyone is screaming for attention, the one who stays silent becomes the center of gravity. Let others shout. Let them beg. Let them spiral. You stay still. You stay rare. You stay in control. And one final question, one that might change how you move from this day forward. What would your life look like if no one had emotional access to you unless they earned it? Sit with that, because the man who doesn't need to be liked becomes impossible to manipulate. And in a world built on emotional puppeteering, that makes you untouchable. Remember, power doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it doesn't flinch, it watches, it waits. And when the time comes, it decides. Now, if you're ready to master that kind of control, not just over others, but over yourself, this is your first step. Don't just listen, start living it, because in the end, the man who cares less doesn't lose, he reigns.